Hey, welcome back to AI and 5. I'm your host, Simon Chris. Joining me today is Dr. Nici Sweaney. Nici runs an AI advisory called AI Her Way. And we're going to be chatting about the impact of AI in the education sector. Hi, Nici, and welcome to AI and 5.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Simon.
We're going to jump straight in. We've only got 5 minutes. I know that a hot topic for you is around females and their role in AI and their role in shaping an AI, and I want to come back to that as another episode. But for this one, I really wanted to focus on your other passion, your other background,
Yeah.
which is AI in education. What are
Yeah.
you seeing right now? How is it impacting the education sector?
Gosh, yeah, it's a really good question. I think education is one of the places that I first started talking about the impact of generative AI because, ChatGPT, this super user-friendly version of generative AI, as soon as I opened it in November 22, as a then lecturer, I just thought, my God, this changes the entire script on what we can ask students to do, how we can evaluate what they actually know, and the skill set that's going to make them relevant in a workforce.
Mm.
And the funny thing is, the conversation, I think I published my first article in January of 2023 about what that meant to the future of assessment,
Yep.
particularly. I'm still having the exact same conversation. I went to EduTech a couple of months ago now in Melbourne. I felt like that was the same conference that I've been to 7 times over the last kind of 18 months. Educators are really proactive when it comes to wanting to know what AI is and how to apply it, which is awesome. Like I go into private business too, and by and large, educators, the majority of them will have tried it. They've thought about how to apply it, but how that translates into the classroom and how we get students to engage with it, we're still having the same conversation. So there's this huge mountain of work to do around what are the questions that we can ask students anymore? How do we teach them to responsibly engage with these tools? And how do we design tasks that actually let them use it, but then also let us as teachers evaluate what they themselves know?
Yeah, so you're hitting on an open nerve for a lot of people, an open question for a lot of people is I keep getting asked, oh, should students be allowed to use it? And to me, that's a little bit like going back 20 years and saying you can't take a calculator into an exam because you won't have one in your pocket. Well, we all
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
what's your take on that? Just
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's a tool, and the other side of that is when they enter the workforce, industry will expect them to know how to leverage this tool because
yeah,
as a leader in an industry, why would I not want you to get a 40% increase in productivity and efficiency, right? Like, why would I want you to handwrite something when we have a word processor? So
mm,
I want you to know how to apply this tool, but I want you to be clever enough to understand when to apply it, which tool to use, and how to get the best out of it, right? And how to use it for creative uses.
yeah,
So, whenever I talk to people about assessment design, I say, unless you're watching the kid or the student do that particular task, you have to assume that they are going to use whatever tools they have. And that's going to include generative AI, right? So my kind of take is really, and some other people call it the 2-lane assessment types. There's a few other different terminologies flying around. I call it AI integrated or human centric.
mm,
So we have to accept that they're going to use generative AI, and that means we have to change the questions that we ask. So we have
yep,
to start looking at process, not outcome,
yep,
because we want to see how the student drives those tools to get a particular outcome.
great.
Or we do human centric, where that becomes around, role play, live talks, 5-minute papers, presentations. It becomes multimodal. There's group work. It practices other really important skill sets. But this is going to be scary for some educators out there. We actually probably don't need those as much as we think we do. Not every piece of assessment needs to be watching the student do something and making sure
I
they can
agree.
do it. We just need to change the questions that we're asking.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I'm a parent, you're a parent. Really quickly, what can parents do, even in the home, to help
Yeah.
these kids learn how to use these tools responsibly and effectively?
Yeah. One of the best activities that I often do with parents and with teachers is getting students, or, you can produce it yourself, but producing certain images and
Mm-hmm.
asking the students to think through, or your kids to think through, why those images are appearing. Because images, a picture paints 1,000 words. It's really easy to start to see bias concerns, ethics concerns, IP concerns when we're looking at an image. So asking an image generator to produce art in the style of an artist, right? And talking about what that means to the artist. Asking them to produce a picture of a typical family in various countries, and getting your kids to think about, okay, why are those elements included in that image? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
And then you can start to think about, okay, yes, it's a tool. It's not always perfect. It's data. Data looks for patterns. Patterns often reinforce stereotypes. And
Yep.
getting your kids to critically engage in that process, that is a awesome first step in teaching responsible AI use.
Wow, that's fantastic advice. We're at 5 minutes, but I
Love it.
always ask everybody the same question at the end. What is your one best tip for somebody just starting their AI journey?
Get out a piece of paper and write down all the things that you do on a weekly basis,
Mm-hmm.
and then get out a highlighter and highlight anything that you think you could comfortably explain to a fresh 17-year-old intern that lands on your doorstep tomorrow. That is the task to start to delegate to generative AI. So many people don't know where to actually start gaining traction besides just, I got it to do a recipe, or I got it to write a bedtime story. If
Yep.
we're using it to uplift productivity and to make more mental space for ourselves, they're the tasks that you want to start palming off.
That's a fantastic bit of advice. And you're the first one to say get out a piece of paper. So that's a good thing.
Oh, I know. I can't escape post-it notes and highlighters,
Yep.
even though I love AI.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being a part of AI in 5, and I look forward to chatting again.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.